Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about tonight's amazing and healing and uplifting new moon here on April 5th, 2019. It's a wonderful energy. It's the completion of kind of a longer cycle we've all been experiencing in our spiritual unfoldment. March brought forth a lot of awareness of things within our lives and within ourselves that needed tending to, needed adjusting, needed shifting. Also involved within that emotions, patterns, habits, beliefs. So much that we have been unconsciously lugging around was brought to light. But that puts upon our shoulders a lot of work to do. There's a lot involved with shifting your frequency and shifting your emotional patterns and shifting your beliefs and then shifting all the manifestations you've accumulated in your lives that reflects all of that's in the process of leaving. So it can be a tiresome, drudgerous sort of wallowing in our darkness for a time. But once we do that, once we make the shifts, which you do naturally, you just are always compelled to fix what needs fixing within yourself and also within your life, then you sort of create like a fresh playing field where the real energy that you are can now express and spread its arms and its wings and extend itself into your daily life, into your emotional body, into your sense of self. And that latter half of the cycle is what this new moon tonight represents. It's the completion, the finalization of these big and sometimes uncomfortable shifts that you've already been making. So it's a very pleasant energy. It's a much more fun and enjoyable aspect and part of the transformation cycle that we've been collectively experiencing. It's going to breathe into yourself and into your life new energy, new insights, new ideas, new opportunities, golden opportunities. It's a beautiful energy. And not only that, sometimes it feels good just to rest in the aftermath of your healing. When you finally discover and successfully let go of something big and you're aware that you just did that, it's so rewarding, it's so empowering and so amazing. And that's what all of what I said is what this energy and what this time and what this new moon is all about. So as I always do, I'll go ahead now and break this down into 5 more specific themes that will give more clarity to the fullness and the huge potential of tonight's and then going forward, this newer energy we're now blessed to be experiencing. Number 1, I wrote down significant life patterns healed through awareness. There's one thing every single one of you can depend fully upon, and that is this. Your awareness is only going to continue to expand. That's what we're all going through. There's a caveat to that though. When it expands, there's no telling what it's going to become aware of. Maybe it's a joy and a passion and a talent you've forgotten about. That's a fun discovery, obviously. Sometimes it's a dark pattern, some kind of ingrained emotional cycle that you suddenly become aware of. And when that is finally brought from the darkness into the light of your consciousness, you see it, you feel it, and then for a little while it even seems to play out in your life. And that can create the illusion that life is getting more sucky, or you're regressing spiritually, or you have this huge problem all of a sudden that's in your lap and it seems so all-consuming and overwhelming, but that's not the case. And here's what you can again depend upon. You're going to expand even more. So in the beginning, it can feel like life is just getting more challenging, and I don't know why. And then after a while, now I know why it's getting challenging. I have this pattern that keeps playing out. But for a while, there's not quite yet enough consciousness for me to see it clear enough to actually let it go. So I'm just half awake, watching it just wreak havoc into my life. But you will continue to expand even further. This new moon is going to be like a of expansion, and you're going to go, oh my goodness. Now I see what that is. It seems so now, in light of my expanded awareness, it seems so out of place. It seems so foreign. It's now obviously seen as not actually me. When that happens, it falls away naturally through your awareness. And then as it falls away, you feel lighter, better. The problems, the temporary surface level manifestations of that gone, replaced by the true you that is now free to roam. And I'll give real quickly an example, because that might have been sort of a long, somewhat vague explanation. So this last weekend, Patty and I went on a date night. We always go on date nights every week, make it a priority. And we were talking on the way home. We were driving home, and she had said something that triggered me big time. It triggered a pattern of mine, which is that of jealousy and insecurity. She's a beautiful woman, so I used to justify my jealousy because of that. But what she said, I don't remember what it was, but it was not really a big deal. It didn't really justify the intensity of the emotional state of jealousy and insecurity that washed over me. But it was so intense that I really, in that moment, I was unable to not act from it. So I kind of shut down. That's one of my unhealthy coping mechanisms. I shut down, and she could, of course, see that. She's like, what's the deal, Victor? What, something I said? I don't think I said anything wrong. My point is, suddenly, this pattern that's always been there, sort of in a foggier sense, was seen more clearly by me as something way out of place and way unnecessary. And though the experience of that kind of spoiled a portion of our evening, and it was a very unpleasant state of being to just sort of randomly well up in my body, it was so out of place, so different, so foreign for the first time ever, enough to where we finally talked about it. And come to find out, which I've always known, she's had sort of the similar issues as well. But because it became such a pressing matter, we finally opened up and discussed it. And we were finally able, for the first time ever in our very long, over 10-year relationship, we were able to let go of that whole huge pattern fully. And the result of doing so has been a deeper connectedness that has been just absolutely amazing. And that's the aftermath. That's the result of your consciousness expanding. Even though it initially can pick up on darkness within yourself, it will continue to expand to the point of transcendence. And then you get to actually experience the more authentic version of yourself playing out in your emotions and within your life. Number 2, walking side by side with spirit. Learning to connect to your own inner being, your inner guru, your higher self, however you want to frame it, in your own way, in your unique way. We are all different. We all have our own ways of connecting with self. And for what works for me might be completely different than what works for you. And I'll tell you what works for me. I'll show you. Every day, almost most days I go to the gym, and I like to listen to my phone, my iPhone, and I'll put on Pandora radio. And if there's something that's puzzling me, which oftentimes there's something I'm working through, I'll have an intention of getting a message from the randomness of the songs that come on the radio. Now, some of you say, well, that's stupid. That's totally, that's not a very good way, a scientific way to go about it. It's not about the songs. It's the songs will influence me. I'll have my own interpretation of something within the songs and the progression of the songs that just sticks out to me. And over the course of 4 or 5 songs, there's a whole, sometimes heavily layered, complex, higher self download and message of clarity and healing and guidance I can derive, believe it or not, from listening to freaking Pandora radio while shadowboxing and jump roping at the gym. Now that's some of you say, I don't know, maybe that works for you. To each their own, Vic. That's the point. That's the point. What works for you? I will bet right now, whatever does work for you is trying to present itself to you. Trying to say, hey, you don't need that. You don't need the psychic on the corner. You don't need all these formal techniques. You know what works. So if you're finding a difficulty connecting, stop trying so hard. Let your inner self speak to you in the way that you are most receptive to. And then when this happens, you'll find that there's really never a big reason to bug out about anything, because you'll know, oh, I can just go within in my own Pandora sort of technique, as I always do, and get the guidance I need. Things won't have to feel so pressing as they can sometimes in the beginning when you're trying to fix something in your life. You can say, you know what? I have my go-to technique and I'm gonna go to that. And so long as it's authentic and resonates with me and is an empowering experience, it'll always work. Number 3, waves of new supportive energy created by you. You'll be the one making the splash in the pool to create those waves of new, supportive, uplifting, encouraging, empowering energy. And that's something we've all been doing for a little while now with the whole Mercury retrograde. Life has been compelling us to look at certain aspects of it for the purpose of making positive adjustments. Now, this can sometimes come in the form of a nuisance or a complication or a problem. And I'll give an example. So this laptop over to my left here, it just stopped working. The charger that I plug in, it stopped charging. Now it's dead completely. And that was annoying because I run my whole business from this laptop. I have other computers, but everything's on that one and I can't fire it up. But that annoying complication caused me to start using this other computer, which this is going to seem like so pointless for a moment. But as I started using this, you know what I realized? I realized how much negative reinforcement I get from this other laptop. Because for the longest time, I'd sit in front of that laptop and I would stress. I would emote emotional states of stress, worry, and anxiety. I could have been in a perfectly beautiful mood, but when I get in front of this computer, it's like an environmental reinforcement of an old state of being that no longer works. So by it breaking and forcing me to try something else, I was able to get a glimpse of what it feels like to work on a different computer. And that caused me to kind of roll with it, and I rearranged my whole office. I have this new setup here. These cool pictures are gonna be coming soon. I was hoping they'd be here today. But anyway, my office space where I spend a lot of my time, where I do a lot of my important creative work, is now in harmony. I created a wave of new, fresh energy in my life by simply acting naturally in response to initially what I perceived to be a problem or a pain in the butt. Okay, so as problems arise, you're gonna naturally take certain courses of action. And in the beginning, it can seem like, wow, this is sort of a random thing I have to deal with that I wasn't planning on doing today. Now I'm already busy. But as you make these adjustments very naturally, you don't have to try hard, you're going to be creating these waves of new supportive energy. They're gonna sneak up on you. I had no idea this is gonna lead to me feeling 100 times happier, more free, more empowered, more like myself. in my office, which again is where I spend a good portion of my day. It's just like a basement that you've neglected for some time, and all of a sudden a pipe bursts and it gets flooded, and you say, yeah, this couldn't get any worse. But then that's like the threshold where you finally go and you clean up that basement because it's just, you've had enough. And as you clean it, you find all these old photos and you create all this nice space and say, you know what, I could put a little art gallery there and I can start painting there. And this whole beautiful area of lighter energy is now part of your life from the problem. Number 4, perhaps the greatest discovery of all. In fact, this is the greatest discovery of all. It's discovering who you really are. This new moon is going to help you discover hidden truths about yourself, about your soul, about your purpose, about your true nature. And you know what happens when that happens? It's always a pleasant surprise. You're never going to discover any real truth about yourself that's going to be boring or disappointing or anything like that. It's always going to be like, oh, this is just so perfect. No wonder this is me, because I love it. I'll give you an example. So the other night, me and Patty were on a different date night. This is after our first date night. It was an amazing time. We were sitting there, we were hanging out, and she started tearing up. And I said, babe, what's the matter? And she just said, she was like kind of laughing because it seemed so like, she's like, why am I crying? She was laughing. She said, I was just thinking about my dieta. A dieta is something that shamans do to connect with the plant spirit. She wants to dieta or diet the plant rose. And this is just something that she's just so passionate about. Just thinking about it brings tears to her eyes, because that's her way of understanding that that path is a representation of her true self, of her soul's predetermined path. And as you expand, it's easier to notice things within your life that are reflections of the true you. And I was having the same experience in my own way, because I've been doing this a while. So a lot of the aspects of my life, like this, just my work, my retreat, working with people, it's all part of my true self. And I'm able to perceive the differentiation between something that's really part of my soul and my soul's talents, we'll say, versus other things. And this is very great for a lot of you who are trying to find your life purpose. Some people, there's a time I didn't know what my life purpose was. I had no idea. I knew what it wasn't. In fact, there was a time where my life seemed to be filled up with nothing but things that weren't part of what I really wanted. And that was awfully frustrating. But as I continued to expand, I was able to have these experiences of certain things coming into my life that resonate. That's the opening I'm talking about, my friend. That's the discovery, the self-discovery due to your, as I mentioned earlier, ever-expanding consciousness. Number 5, love is changing everything. Everything. And we are removing so many barriers to our direct experience with the love essence that permeates all of reality and existence. And as we become more connected and fueled by and influenced by that fundamental love nature of reality that we are now becoming more influenced by, it's going to change everything. It's going to change the way you speak to people, the way you think about people, the things you choose to spend your time on, the way you choose to treat yourself. Everything is being changed by this love. And this love, it's not coming into the planet. It's always been here. And you're just now waking up to it. All the turmoil, all the challenges, all of the uncertainty, it's all part of you falling deeper into this love. And as you do, you're going to discover who you are. And you're going to start living that more fully. And you're going to be happy. You're going to be complete. You're going to be fulfilled. You're going to have a purpose. You're going to want to express that purpose. You're going to just be able to experience life in a more awesome way. And I'll give a perfect example to kind of cap off this video. So as I said, man, last weekend it was rough. I had a tough emotional time with the whole jealousy stuff coming up. I really felt in those moments like, man, Victor, you aren't evolved at all, bro. You suck. Look at how you're feeling. This is such a dirty, awful energy, and you're just stuck feeling it. It's causing problems in your life and in your relationships. That was just that initial awareness. But as I said, I kept expanding, as we all are, and I was able to see it and release it and let it go. And even though we had a ruined date night, Patty and I have been ever since, because we both kind of released, she had the exact same sort of, attitude towards me. We both always had this big thing in a relationship that not only caused problems and issues and complications and lots of fights, it prevented us from really loving each other fully. But now with these barriers gone, the way we are being with each other, it's almost like we just met. We are just love each other so much because there's no more of a pushing her away out of fear and vice versa, where we're opening up to the love and it's overtaking us. And that's just one example of how this can relate to you. This could be something with your career. Maybe you love to write, but when you go to write, all this anxiety comes up, all these fears, all these insecurities. And you write because there's a part of you that likes it still, but when all this comes to a head and you finally release all those barriers, you can go and write, and you can love to write. There can be no more friction, and you can be really immersed in this activity that you love. Love is changing everything, and you are love, we are love, and all the stuff that's preventing and creating the illusion that we are not that love is being washed away. Anyways, my friend, that is my interpretation of this new moon. Take it for what you will. It's what came out of me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you benefited from it. I had fun shooting it and sharing it with you. And I wish you guys nothing but the best on your life and in your journey and on your path. If you're brand new to my channel, let me say, I have a free guided MP3 meditation that will help you learn how to connect with your higher self, which is going to actually create the experience where you realize you always are your higher self. It's kind of a trick. It's a tricky meditation that lures you into the realization that you are and have always been your higher self. It's something that channeled out of me. It's totally free. Check it out down below if you like. And if you want to see more of me, and if you like the video and you like my vibe, then you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram, because I post on there every single day. In fact, I even post little individual stories throughout the day of what I'm eating and what I'm doing and just insights I have. So it's a way to really connect with me on a much deeper level. I'll leave a link down there as well. Okay, with that, I'm going to close. You guys have an amazing day. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you here very soon again. Namaste.